I think
So,
we should get started.
yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. So, we're gonna kick off just saying hello to everybody and to thank you all for your participation in the Free Palestine movement recently, if that's what you've been doing. If not, welcome to the American Free Palestine movement, I suppose. Not that I'm a representative of that at all, but I really am looking forward to hearing a lot of people speak today. We're going to kick off with Khalil. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is in Gaza and is going to talk to us a little bit about what's going on there. And then we're going to head over to Joy and we'll go from there. So, Khalil, let's hand it off to you.
Hello everyone. Good morning or good evening. You know, it's 3 a.m. now. Yes, I'm actually in Gaza now, and if you want me to talk about the humane situation or every situation in Gaza, if you want to know about the genocide that is going on now in Gaza, like bombing people, bombing houses, entire neighborhoods without any warning, without any threatening before, people just being killed in their homes without any, warning or something. Um, Gaza now, everyone in Gaza don't have like any clean water to drink. For me personally, I didn't drink like clean water for like 2 weeks now. It's bad, yeah. You can barely like find food to eat. No electricity, no internet. I have an eSIM card, and it's too the connection is too weak. Like it's interrupting and so on. So about everything in life here in Gaza, it's bad for more than a month without any ceasefire, without with the border is blocked now. There's no aids coming in. There's no food. There's no water. There's no fuel. Um, a lot of hospitals are going out of service because there is no fuel to run the generators there. And like for the first place, there's no electricity for after like day 4. There's no electricity at all. So the situation here is unbelievable. We can barely live our day, and we are waiting. Like everyone now is waiting for a bomb because we know these airstrikes are not differentiating between anything. Like if you are innocent, if you are a kid, if you can hear it, right? Yeah, it's a bombing now. Every time, 24 hour a day, these explosions never stop. We hear it all the time. Sometimes it's close to us, sometimes it's far, but every corner in Gaza is being bombed by these strikes. They are using they are bombing everywhere using artillery, from the ground, using planes from the air and warships. They are using very powerful weapons uh, to make 2.5 million people here in Gaza suffer with uh, blocking all the borders now. They are not letting anything to come in Gaza, like medical aids, medications, food. I'm talking just about yes. Now I think you will hear the artillery shell, because we hear two sounds when the yes, that's the second one. Yeah, all the time, all the day. Uh, I'm I'm gonna talk about these things, about the bombings, about killing people, about trying to rescue people, kids, children, babies, women, old and young people from under the rubble. Every day, we we know that there is a close like bombing or something. We just ran to that position just to rescue as much as we can. But unfortunately, the survivors always be like few, because these bombs are very big bombs. They are like erasing entire houses, like entire neighborhoods. uh, the smell of blood and flesh, it's in my head for day one, because the numbers of killed people. Yeah, I told you, you're gonna hear the sound all the time, all the time, but we can't do like anything. We are just waiting. Maybe this is it. Maybe it's this bomb for us, for me, to to kill me. But when I hear the explosion, I know that's not. So that's the situation in Gaza. Every person here is threatening every person here. Maybe this hour is his last hour. This minute is his last minute. So, you know, yeah, and the maybe one of the most important things that we should mention here, that every couple day or something, they disconnect all the communication from Gaza. Yesterday they disconnect the internet and all the communications, and they made like a massacre in an area named Shata camp. They burned like not one neighborhood, guys, not one, like many, like several neighborhood. They burned it, like burning. They they bombed it with fire bombs, using phosphorus, white phosphorus, and I think you know this. White phosphorus is an internationally banned weapon, and they used it like too many times now in Gaza. Yeah, the term war, it's not acceptable in this war. We should always, when you want to mention this war, just use the word genocide. It's a genocide. It's a massacre. There's more than 10,000 now killed from this bombing, destroying houses over people's head. Can you imagine just going to sleep and you never woke up? No, now look, now you will hear another explosion. Just wait for 2 seconds. You will hear it. I know.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
horrifying. Can I ask
Yeah.
you a question?
Look. Yeah.
Uh, oh,
Yeah. Go ahead.
there it is. There it is. Heard it. Oh my God. Is there any mobility as far as like how there are people here saying, well, why don't we provide people aid? Why don't they go somewhere else? Like you're trapped. Is that correct?
Sir, I can't hear you.
I'm so
Can you
sorry.
repeat the question?
I said,
Yeah. Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about the mobility there? Because there are people here saying, why don't they go somewhere else, or why don't they get help from someone else? Can you tell us? You're trapped. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes.
they
Yes.
they closed all the cross borders with Egypt, and it's the only border there.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Gaza now there is like a north and a south, and if anyone went from the north to the south, yeah, yeah, that's yeah. Maybe he will get killed, and I think you saw a video that shows a lot of people are killed in the streets, uh, just because they want to run from the north areas to the south area. Um, there is no mobility now. You know, Gaza Strip now is in a block age now. Uh, they are not letting anything in or out, so everyone is just waiting for the time to die because we can't do anything.
Khalil, I want to thank you for being here in this space of what you're dealing with, and I want you to know that we are praying for you. And Americans are not our government. We are standing with you, and I personally am not going to vote for Biden again. I have marched. I'm praying. I'm writing my elected officials, and I think most of us on here are doing something to raise attention to what's going on with you, and just know that you have so many people who are rooting for you, and we love you. And I'm
Thank you.
so sorry that our government is jerks and assholes and not treating you the way you deserve to be treated, with dignity and respect, and we stand with you.
Thank you so much. You know something about the government or about the rule of USA at this war? We know, everyone here know that USA now are supporting the occupation. You know, and and for me, I'm sorry for that too. You know, like seeing another country helping another one to kill people, like giving them weapons every single day and sending carriers in the sea and submarines and stuff, like for what, for 2.5 million innocent people, for what? Like, I have just one question. Gaza, this small place, you know, does it need like all this power, like all these weapons just to come to Gaza? Like, for what? For what? I always have something to tell people that here in Gaza we always hear about like there's 30 or 40 people have been killed or something. Do not say like numbers. People here are not numbers, guys. Everyone have a story. Everyone has his life. Like for me, the most terrifying thing when I think about like if I die, they will mention my name or mention just like number. There's someone who died. Okay, but what happens to all my like my dreams and my life? It will go like nothing, and there is one like 10,000 people have been killed in this war and this aggression and this genocide. Some of them are my friends, some of them from my family. I you know I used to to help people to get some killed people from under the rubbles, man. It's the first time of my life to see a dead bodies from under the rubble. It's terrifying. I never imagined that I will live this, in my life, but it is what it is now.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. If you can hang on with us for a few minutes, I'd like to have Joy speak, and then I want to ask you a few more questions if you're willing to stay here, Khalil, because I mean, we don't hear a lot of voices from the ground, and your experience is truly, truly heartbreaking. We definitely want to know more. Can you stick
Sure,
around with
sure.
minutes?
I'm running out of battery now because I just have like 10% in my phone. So I will try to be with you as I can.
Sure.
Please
Okay.
do
So,
what you have to do to stay safe,
For like five
so that you
minutes.
can
Yeah, yeah.
call family or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
What?
stay
Absolutely.
safe
Say again
first.
the question.
Whatever you have to do to stay safe, we totally understand. So, if you have to call
We
family, if you have to leave, we understand. And if you could stay, that'd be great, but we
look,
understand.
just just to make this clear, there's nowhere can I go like to make me feel safe.
Yeah,
Mm,
There's no shelters now, uh, and I know if like my house got bombed or something, they bombed all of it. There's no one corner of it like safe. So
understood.
like if you want, yeah, if you want to tell someone to take care or to be safe, I think it's a ridiculous question here in Gaza because there's no way to try to be safe,
Understood.
because there's nowhere safe. Yeah.
Understood.
wow. Yeah, that's harrowing and something we all need to hear too. So thank you so much for sharing that. Is there any is there anything else that you definitely want us to hear over here? Is there any like desperate
You know,
message?
I can
What was your dream when you said your dreams will turn to dust? What was your dream?
when I say about my dream, when I tell people about my dream or something, I didn't mean like it's like my dream myself. I mean that everyone, like I'm talking behalf of everyone here in Gaza. For me, myself, I studied, in the university, and I've been trying too hard to make a life for myself, and I try to travel and start a career or something. Yeah, that's a life. That's a normal life for everyone here in this planet. So we are not different. We are not, people here in Gaza are not different. We are here. We go to schools. We go to universities. We get like degrees. We work. We work too hard to to have a life. Some of us, travel and live outside the country and then come back. So we got like a lot of dreams or plans or something. So when now I'm 27 years old, and I've been trying to make a good life for myself, to make a career, to build a house, to
Yeah.
anything like this. But now I'm 27 and I didn't do anything because every 2 or 3 years there's a war, and after every war I have to start from zero. And that's the point here, that we can't build our lives.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And that's the true crime is this is not just a genocide of people, but it's what your people could have become. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us. And I mean, we're trying to do as much as we can over here for you against our own
I'm here
government.
listening, for like 5 or 10 minutes because I'm running out of battery, honestly.
Yeah.
So I will try to be with you, as I can. I'm
Thank you.
listening now.
Yeah, but thank you so much.
Thanks.
And let me open it up to if any of the other speakers have a question for Khalil or if they want to say anything. I'll hand it off to you, Joy, first, because I know that you've got a time constraint. Um, so go ahead, Joy.
I'm honestly, I'm not even sure what I could possibly say right now. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot even believe that in this short conversation, we have heard 5 fucking bombs go off.
Hmm.
Like, Khalil, my heart breaks for you. It does. And I want you to know that I don't know if it gives you any kind of solace whatsoever, but there are millions of us in America who are with you and the Palestinian people. 100%. And we wish we could do more.
Thank you. It means a lot to me, these tears, honestly. Thank you.
I just can't even imagine what you're going through. And I'm, I've been, marching and covering it on my show and everything, but I wish there was more we could do, like we're doing everything and it's like it's still not enough. But I still want you to know that there are millions of us. And I don't know, my heart breaks for you, your family, your friends. What is there one thing in particular you want people to take away from this interview? What do you want people to know, especially in America?
You know, when this aggression started for the first place, the Israeli, leaders said that they are dealing with the human animals. Yeah, and and this is like an okay to kill. Like, okay, we are dealing with animals, so let's kill them all. Yeah, and the only thing that I want to the Americans to know that no, Palestinians and Gazans people are not animals. They are like you, or maybe better than you, because there's a lot of people here in Gaza. They are highly certified. They got a lot of degrees. Yes, we are not animals here. You are not dealing with animals or something. Yeah, and this is the main thing. When you say that you are dealing with animals, so you have the permission from the world leaders, the unjust world, to kill, to kill, without any hesitating. Like, I just want to go, inside one of these pilots, brain, to think how he think when he drop a 1-ton bomb over a neighborhood, knowing that there is like more than 200 or 300 people there sleeping. I just want to know, who is the animal here? Who is the animal? I think we all know.
Absolutely. You are so right. And I know I speak for myself, and I could probably speak for a heck of a lot of people on here, and that we know that we will never stop talking about this. This is not going to, be something that, other news can cover up and can fade away. We will never stop talking about this, and we will never stop holding the government and the Israeli government and the United States government. We will hold them accountable for the rest of our lives. And I can promise you that.
Well said, Joy. Absolutely. Absolutely. I will personally make it my mission to do so, and also I will knock things over while I do it. So, that thank you again. Joy, do you want to just say anything really quick about some of the actions you've been to this weekend?
It wasn't this weekend. It was I went in three different cities. I went Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and Washington D.C. Um and I'm just going to say this straight up, like, and I don't know people's situations. I'm not trying to shame anyone, but what I'm going to say straight up is that my blind, disabled, broke ass has been to three different cities protesting, even though I use a cane, I can't drive, and I'm still going places to march and chant and rally and everything else. And that's not a brag. I'm not trying to be a martyr, but I am telling people that just simply posting on social media is not enough. It's not. There were 300,000 people in the streets on Saturday. That is the biggest solidarity march in many of our lifetimes. That is huge. And this is showing us solidarity is not just a hashtag. We talk about solidarity all the time on the so-called left or whatever you want to say. We always talk about it. And half the time it's hypocritical because people who say it, you're like, really? Because they were an asshole to me or whatever. But this is solidarity. This is literally hundreds of thousands of people walking arm in arm for the same exact reason. And this is about humanity. This is not about religion. This is about humanity. And this is, make no mistake, in the future, grandkids, kids, everyone, history books, they're going to be like, what did these people do in this time? Tweeting and shit like that, that's not enough. And if you're okay with simply doing that, that's a problem. And Israel thanks you. Straight up.
Well said. Absolutely.
So I gotta get going to my show. I gotta wipe my damn face. I gotta try and get my shit together. Thank
That's
you,
great.
Khalil. I am sending you so much love, and I promise we will never stop fighting for you.
Yes.
If you guys want, when this
Absolutely.
is over,
Same.
come over to my
Well,
show,
thank you so
Savage
much
Joy
for
Marie
coming
Band.
and have a great show. I will definitely watch it on the rewind. Oh no.
Thank you so much, guys. Much love.
Thank you so much. Have a great
Sure. Bye
show, and
bye.
I will definitely watch it on the rewind. So,
Thank you.
so let's hear from Christina next, if we can. Hi, Christina. You've been at. Were you in Washington this weekend?
On Saturday, and we marched with Black is Back and with Palestine, and the Uhuru 3 were there, and we spoke about the injustices, and it was incredible. I was actually able to get in front of the 300,000 people marching down the street to take a picture of like that giant wave of people coming, and I was just like, that is a wave of fight and passion. And Khalil, we will not stop fighting for you. I have family over there that I have not even met because I grew up in foster care in the system, and I want to meet my family. I don't want my family to die. And I just feel like a lot was just seeing this a lot, that this government, they've already taken so much from so many people just because we were born and we existed. We never did anything wrong, and it's just painful. This entire thing is just painful, and it's just sad, and there's not really a lot of other words I can think of except like, it's just emotions that I feel. I feel helpless. I feel like no matter how much protesting, how many phone calls I make, who I write, what I do, I feel like it's never enough. And I know we all have, the entire world has spoken up for you. The entire world has spoken up for Palestine. The entire, like, another country, there was 2 million people out for Gaza. I've never seen so many people out marching. But it's like the government, they refuse to listen. And it's just such a helpless feeling. And it just makes me so angry. And I'm just speaking on myself, but I don't know. I don't know what else to do. I just feel so lost, because it's like, it's one thing to just say, yeah, in 2024, yeah, when we elect new people, but like, what else can we do now? Because, I don't want more people to die tomorrow, and how many more people are going to die in 1 year? And then what in Canada, they said that they want to take 500,000 refugees of Palestinians, but we already know how people get refugees, and the indigenous people get treated in Canada. No, freaking bring houses, build houses, provide infrastructure, make Palestine independent. That's what's needed. It's just, the common sense solutions are there, but nobody wants to act on it, and it just, I don't know. I just don't know what else we could do now, because I feel like we're doing everything. But I won't give up the fight.
Awesome, Christina. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, we only can do what we can do with what we have to work with, and we're trying our best. And it's still not enough, but we keep trying and fighting and praying for you and Khalil, and we hope that everything works out for you. Um, Professor Zenkus, would you like to say a word?
Sure. I didn't know if there were people waiting ahead of me, but okay. I'll. Um. Hi, everybody. Yeah, this is emotional, right? I didn't know somebody who's living that horror was going to be on the on the call here. So it's. But I think we need to hear it. Can people hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Um. I have like a little thing that's hopeful to say, but before I do, I just I work. Those that know me, I'm a social worker. I teach social work, and I specialize in trauma. And if this all stopped tomorrow, and we know that it won't, um, the trauma that these people, and it's a real thing, are going to live with for the rest of their lives. It's just overwhelming for me to think about it, and here I am sitting in my apartment in New York. Bombs are not going off, and I can go to sleep tonight. And, I think about the troubles and the worries that I have in my life, and they're nothing compared to what these people are experiencing. And, it's heartbreaking, but so much work needs to be done to bring this message out to more and more people. And, I teach at Columbia and I teach at Adelphi. I'm worried about my students. Some of them are activists and have not been treated well. Um, they're ripping down signs that they put up for solidarity with Palestine with one of those QR codes so that they can network. They're getting removed in the schools by security and by other students. Uh, One of my students was doxxed. There's a truck driving around Columbia from these protests, and anybody who signed a letter, just like they did with Harvard, they haven't really reported this, but they're doing it in New York. They're doxing these students, and I'm so encouraged by their courage because they're not giving up. But it's hard. It's hard for us to not feel defeated. I think it's hard for us not to feel hopeless when I don't know what to say, but what I'm seeing happening with Israel, I had done some reading on issues related to the drug war, and some cartels are very, very, very brutal. And one of the things that they have as their kind of credo is the more brutal we are, the more we are feared, the less anybody fucks with us. And I see what's happening with what Israel is doing, and to me, it looks exactly the same, just on a much larger scale. And I did a post on this the other day. I really think with this operation, I mean, with this genocide, that savagery is the point. I think they're purposely blowing up ambulances, houses, residential, buildings. They bombed 11 universities. One yesterday, they flattened El Azra University. As an educator, I'm like, they are they are purposely destroying the futures of the Palestinian people. Education is that hopeful piece of the future. Like our next generation will go there and will help build our country up. They're destroying that, and they're doing it on purpose. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever witnessed in my life. What makes me hopeful is how many people are also disgusted. How many people are outraged. I I'm in a position where I can't travel right now for whatever reasons, but I can't do it. But as soon as I can, I will. What I saw in DC today, I saw the coverage today. I watched it on independent media, and it was amazing. There's a story, a quick one, and I'll just end with this for now. I don't know if people heard about it, but when Nixon was contemplating using nukes during the Vietnam War in Cambodia, John Dean, one of his attorneys, tells a story about how Nixon and Kissinger were in the Oval Office the day of the massive Vietnam protest. And I think anti-Vietnam, of course. And I think it was like 1.5 million people. It was like the biggest march ever in the history of our country at that time. And that the presence of those people, that Nixon referred to it specifically because he could see it out his window. These people were on the mall. And he said, we can't nuke. We cannot do that. So what happened is all those people went home. And maybe they were feeling like dejected, like the war didn't stop. But I do believe in my heart that every single thing we do and everything we say, and, even disagree a little with Savage Joy, who I love, but even on social media, everything we do and say is does matter. And I think that I just saw some beautiful videos of people blocking in Tacoma, Washington. I'm sure some of you saw it, weapons shipments in a ship, a container ship that's supposed to go to Israel with all these weapons, and they're blocking them. And there are now indigenous First Nations, Native Americans in the water in little canoes blocking the ship from moving. This is not going unnoticed. I think we may not see what we want to see tomorrow, and we can't accept that, but I think it's having an effect. And I have to think that because the alternative would be too devastating. So thank you for giving me space.
Thank you so much, Professor Zinkis. Everything you have to say is 100% valid. Um, Chuck, if you would like to request to speak, we'd love to hear from you. And in the meantime, Zainab, if you would like to go, we'd love to hear from you.
I think Khalil's hands up.
Whose hand is
Yeah,
up?
can I say something?
Oh, yes, of
Yeah,
course.
Khalil.
I have to go because my battery, but I have to make like 2 points in a hurry, clear now before I go.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Inshallah, Khalil.
yeah, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
absolutely.
Yeah. I will talk about what Prof. I can't pronounce your name right, Zinkos. So you talked about the trauma, right? I am one of the Palestinians who went through 4 wars now, like 28, 2011, and 2014, and now 2023. Talking about the word trauma, it's useless here, as because after every war, I just look around and I try to move on, because if I stuck myself in a trauma, everyone in Gaza, here in Gaza, he got a trauma in herself. Everyone here got like a PTSD or something, you know. And about the universities, they bombed like the largest two universities here in Gaza, Al Azhar University and Islamic University. And the main reason, I think, that they uh, just want to bomb everything, including the educational buildings. Um, we we can't see anything meaningful here. They just bombing because they just can. So tomorrow I will hear this recorded for sure. But now I have to go. My phone, it's like 7%, so I have to save some battery for tomorrow, because we don't have, the any source to charge phone. So tomorrow I will have to, like, for an adventure, just to charge my phone, to search for any electricity, source to search to charge my phone. Thank you, everyone. There's two things you have to do, honestly. Just speak the truth about Palestine. Speak the truth about what's going on here, about the genocide here. Tell people that people here in Gaza are not numbers. Our lives matters like everyone else in this world, and this war must end like soon, because you know we can't live like this anymore. For me, for more than 30 days, um, it's tiring. It's tiring. We are trying, to hold ourselves, but I think we can't, like, for longer. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Keep it up,
thank
and
you, thank you for being here, Khalil. We are praying for you,
thank you.
and we will keep praying for you, and we will keep speaking up. And,
Thank you, Khalil.
we're
Can
so
anyone hear
grateful.
me? I hope so, because Khalil, that was
Yes,
amazing and great. Everything you've said has been, I mean, just thank you so much for speaking out. You are so brave, and we're with you.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Something like last thing, they are targeting the Israelis. Like, unfortunately, they are targeting everyone who is talking about Palestine. So I'm putting myself in danger now. Not now, like from the beginning of this war, like talking in this platform, and there's a lot of people that trying to shut me up. A lot of people that trying to talk bad things about me, that I'm not in Gaza or something. Just imagine, there's some people who bring from my page here. I was, in Dubai, like, 4 years ago, and now they are saying that I'm outside Gaza, and I'm, using this to, you know just bullshit. But we will never shut, our voices. I will always speak about my suffering, my people suffering here in Gaza, and inshallah soon I will be with you in any other space to talk about Palestine. Thank you guys for
Thank you.
everything you
And
are
we will
doing.
never forget
Thank
you.
you,
We
inshallah.
will not
Thank
forget
you.
you, and
Thank you
we will
so
keep
much.
boosting you
Thank
and
And
following
we're
you.
all praying for you.
thank you. Good
Yes.
night, or see you soon. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I just want to take a moment real quick. If anybody, excuse me, if anybody is interested in speaking, that and we don't know you personally, please send us a DM, me or Lightworker, and just let us know your
Um,
relation to this issue. Um, and I would love to have Chuck Modi say something, but I'm trying to invite you to speak, and for some reason it's not. If you can request to speak, we would love to have you say something. Christina, hey.
yeah, I just
Hey girl,
want
what's up?
okay. So I just want to try and get us all to like take this protest to the next level. And anyone who supports, Gaza and Palestine, if they're registered as Dems, I want us to start encouraging people to unregister as Democrats
Can
or
anyone hear?
Republicans. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I want us to start telling people, if this is what you truly support, start unregistering, because when they see the numbers, because right now they're just people are still registered. We recently had over 500 people unregister as Democrats in New Jersey, and they registered as Green Party. Um, no one has to register. I'm not saying that people have to register as a certain party, but they could mark themselves as independent. They can pick Green Party. They could pick the Socialist Party. Just start telling people this is a new way to protest, because they're going to see those numbers and they're going to realize, hey, these people are leaving the Republican and Democrat Party. This is even more serious, and we're showing the action now. We're not waiting a year to vote. We're showing now at the polls you're losing these people.
That's a great point.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. Um, who would like to go next? Zainab or Chuck? Who would like to go?
Chuck can go first. That's okay with me. I can come on after. I know he did a lot of coverage of the
No, you could go first. I'll come after you.
All right, my friend. It's good to see you, by the way.
Always.
There I don't know, man. So for those that don't know, I'm Iranian American, right? Went through like after 9/11, I wasn't able to get a passport for years. I was on the no-fly list for a while. Saw how all of that went for Americans, but also, at the same time, I was aware that I was sitting here in some privilege because my country wasn't Iraq. It wasn't Afghanistan. My people weren't getting bombed all to hell in Yemen or Somalia or, Jordan. There's there's this thing that I even saw sometimes with some of my American family members and people that I know and even people on the left that really does dehumanize anyone who's brown, from a country like Iran, which right now there's a shit. The Americans have gone through the Strait of Hormuz, which is a huge acceleration point with the Iranians, and they have a warship pointed at Shiraz, which is where my family is. There's the dehumanization is one of the hardest things to look at. And I think in the Western world, we still tend to center ourselves, even in conflicts like this. We want people to know, hey, we're with you. Not all Americans are bad. Not all, and it's sort of this thing where we still center ourselves instead of like, I don't know. I see a lot of people talking about our politics right now and how this is affecting Joe Biden. Well, fucking everyone already hates Joe Biden's guts for the most part throughout the country, except for in maybe some elitist blue areas that are still like dim heavy. People already hate Trump, except for in some really heavy red areas, which all of these areas, all of these places are where it's white people, upper class white people who are maintaining the status quo. So I feel like we're still, even now with Palestine, trying to convince those upper class white people that want to maintain the status quo to change their mind when 80% of the country supports a ceasefire. So things like boycotts, things like pressuring our representatives that we currently have now. We can't say let's wait till 2024 when 10,000 people have been bombed. People can't brush their damn teeth. People in Gaza can't go to the bathroom. They can't go to the toilet. There's no running water and no food. There's pregnant women that can't have their babies. This isn't something where we can talk about waiting till the next fucking election cycle or convincing people because 80% of the country already hates both parties. 80% of the country is already convinced that everything fucking sucks. We're already going through a lot of shit here, but it pales in comparison to what they're going through there. I mean, hell, I'm homeless right now. I'm homeless between housing. I'm sleeping on a couch or a cot. My daughter and I are trading places so that each of us can get a comfortable night's sleep every once in a while. We go through hardships here, but it's nothing in comparison to what the people in Gaza are going through with a literal genocide happening. So I think that things like the protest outside of the weapons shipping yards is very powerful. I think, like Anthony said, we need to make sure that we're doing everything and speaking up whenever we can. And I think we should also call for a boycott of the current representatives in office, pressure people to quit their jobs. There was 500 staffers that signed a letter, but almost all of them, 70% of them, were anonymous. Get some gonads, man. If you're going to put your name to a letter, put your name to a damn letter if you're going to be a staffer. Walk out. It's time. I saw Abby Martin, who I respect and is a colleague, up in the office of Markley's office trying to protest, and they wouldn't even speak with her. We have to protest our people that are sitting in office right now because they're the ones that can change the law right now because we don't have 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. We sure as fuck don't have a year to help these people. This is happening now. the only things that we can do, and I know it feels powerless, is by calling for these boycotts by every way possible. And you know what? Social media does have an impact, believe it or not, and pressuring does have an impact. And I think rallies have somewhat of an impact. They do. But rallies is also like one of those covers where they're like, oh, they went for a rally. Okay, we see where you stand. Now we can move on from it. No, the boycotts are working. BDS was a great idea when it started in the first frickin' place before they decided to label it, before Zionists decided to label it terrorism, right? Which is absolutely insane. Um, so there's lots of different ways that we can boycott, and I think that heckling our representatives online is a great way. Going and doing sit-ins in their office. Um, and boycotting the machines that are behind the money, that are sending money to APAC, the companies that are sending money to Israel, anyone that's funding this, we should, as a collective, as that 80% that hates both parties, that is ready for change, the 60% of this country that are in poverty, that have solidarity because we know what struggle is. All these, there needs to be mobilization. So I hope that maybe in the if anyone knows of any of these actions that are happening, and they can put it down in the comment section of um, this spaces, then we can all go there and look and see where we could potentially volunteer and help, and the different things that we could do. And that's one thing that can be done. But right now, I'm so fucking pissed off that people have that it's because you're brown and because you're a quote unquote Arab person, which whatever the fuck that means, that you're less than human. And even hearing it from liberals or so-called leftists, or even sometimes the way that people talk in solidarity is infantilizing, dehumanizing, and condescending. So I feel like, but more so, we have more solidarity than we have people that aren't in solidarity. It's just a matter of getting them mobilized and pushing our representatives in a real way, and that could mean civil disobedience. There is no real polite way to protest. Fuck all that nonsense. We've seen people getting run out of offices and saying now's not the time. No, fuck that. Now is absolutely the time, because we don't have 24, 48 hours. We don't have a fucking week. The point is the suffering. The point is to level Gaza so that people won't have anywhere and any infrastructure to be able to go back, so that then Israel can come bulldoze it and probably build a fucking, boardwalk on their oceanfront property. Sorry if I was a little
No,
bit
well said.
loud
Everything
and
you
yelling.
said was 100% valid. Cursing is allowed here. It's appropriate.
Listen, there is no apologizing for being loud or yelly, because this is a genocide, and we will use the language we want to use because this is disgusting and we need to speak out about it. Absolutely. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking. Chuck, did you want to go
Yeah.
next?
Yeah, sure. I mean, got me fired up, to be quite honest with you. Um,
Take it away.
and
It's great to meet you officially.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And first of all, Pepper, appreciate you inviting me. I appreciate everybody coming together, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate and was blown away by the crowds we've seen culminating in this Saturday in DC, which was just incredible. I mean, it was just incredible. The streets were packed. You couldn't move anywhere. The energy, whatever you saw on video, if you weren't there, it's times 100. The energy in person, the solidarity was incredible. For someone like myself, as an anti-Zionist Jew, I've been really sort of uplifted by the world seeing that anti-Zionist Jews exist, right? They've been censored by the media for all these years, just as Palestinians have, just as Muslims have, and that's really important towards breaking that narrative, because any time where there's privilege, there's an added layer in this particular case, because everyone is called anti-Semitic for simply fighting for human rights, right? And that has less stickability. Against so many Jews coming out. So I think that is a really important piece. But as someone who's covered Free Palestine rallies for like about 10 years now. Had my own awakening in 2014. I said, "Fuck this shit." What I was taught was bullshit. I was taught lies. There's not atrocities on both sides. I see the numbers. I see how crazy the disparity is. That's before I even got into Israeli apartheid. And at that time, I said, no, I really have to cover this. And over the years, I've covered many rallies with like 50 people there. To see in the hundreds of thousands, it's incredible. And part of me, as I say that, feels bad because I'm like, oh, we're hundreds of thousands. Well, every second someone's dying. Like every second, by the time we're finished speaking here, more people have died in Gaza. And so it's always, anytime you talk about this resistance and this response, it's always a little bittersweet because of what's causing it. But at the same time, there's a tipping point. I mean, I think we are hitting this tipping point, and this is coming through mass education, and it's also a byproduct of, like, okay, if you didn't know before that both parties were completely garbage, now you know. Like you have no excuse of knowing. It's not just because some leftists are saying so or coming up with these theories. It's never been more glaring and more apparent than right now. So what everybody laid out is all the different layers of protest, from boycotting to, I never even thought about it until a second ago, not register. I'm registered as Democrat from like a long time ago, and I just never switched it. I think I'm gonna switch it tomorrow if I could do so. Like, I didn't even
Yes,
think
you
about that.
can.
What?
Unregister. You can. You can go online in your town and
Yeah.
unregister.
I never thought about it. I honestly just never thought, like, just pure laziness. And I never thought about it. But now that you said that, yeah, that makes sense. It's one little tiny thing to if enough people do it and they see that go down, that makes a difference. Boycotts make a difference. Some of these protests that I've been seeing the last couple of days make my heart swell, against Boeing and others. They all make a difference. And I reject the people who say it doesn't make a difference. And I think the flaw in that is that people are saying it, they're thinking too linear, in a linear way. Because I get that all the time as someone who covers protests. Oh, this doesn't make a difference. Well, if you think in a very linear way, like, we're going to protest today and Joe Biden is going to cut funding tomorrow, yeah, it's not going to happen like that. It's not going to happen like that. But protests tend to have a domino effect. You're changing consciousness, you're changing energy, and we understand culture precedes politics. So, and what we're doing is we're changing culture. We're beating back the billion-dollar empire of corporate media. We're undercutting them with just masses of people in the street. Every person who meets another person at one of these protests, and they get to know each other, everything that comes out of that in the future was part of that protest. Any organization that came in, any young person who was radicalized for the very first time at one of those protests, that is responsible for the dominoes that come after that. So when people say protests don't work, they think in too much of a linear fashion. And I'm not talking about the people who do nothing and just criticize people who are doing something. We know about them. I'm talking about them. I'm talking about the people who for good reason, are very skeptical, but protests don't work that way. It's a domino effect. It is a domino effect of energy, that something causes something else, and we're in the right path. And if you go back to a few years ago, I can't remember if it was the BDS book. I remember I was reading the BDS book, or it might have been another book, and it said the first words were, "We are winning," and you're like, "What? We are winning? Are you serious?" Israeli part-time, we are winning. And the author was talking about, I don't know if it was Ali Abdinabi. I just mispronounced his name. I apologize, but I can't remember exactly. But we are winning, and I feel that, though it's no one's winning in Gaza right now. But what it does mean is that the energy that we're seeing and people coming out, and particularly young people, is that we have a window of light that it was very difficult to see not too long ago. And I think everybody has to do whatever they can from wherever they can, from whatever position they're in, to crack that window open further. So all of the different strategies that I've heard previously on this call, do it. Get in your lane that fits you and your personality, and do that, as opposed to, this strategy is better than that strategy. Do what works for you. And that's what I always tell people. And thank you for this space.
Absolutely. Well said. Excellent. Thank you so much. Um, So yeah, we're gonna have Patricia up next. Can you say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Patricia Guino, and I'm a DC commissioner representing the H Street Northeast area, proudly representing the 2,500 people here. And the reason why I'm thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. And as many have expressed here, I'm very shocked that not more elected representatives are advocating for a ceasefire in Gaza. But I'm not going to be one of the people that stays silent as elected representative, even though I'm just one of 344 DC commissioners in the great city of Washington, D.C. I have used my platform to basically, yes, advocate for a free Palestine. And I'm not scared to say free Palestine. I'm very tired that other elected representatives have not been much more outspoken for the genocide that is happening in Palestine. So I have personally gone to protest, and on October 18, I was on the march on on Saturday. I was actually up till midnight protesting in front of the White House, calling for a ceasefire. And while I'm not like a senator or a congressperson. I think that uh, every single local elected official, no matter how small of an office, should do their should do their duty to speak out. And I know it's scary. It's scary because there has been actually have faced a lot of backlash because of my position. I've been called a terrorist sympathizer. I've been called um, uh, anti-Semitic, and those two things are not true. I love both Jewish people. I love Muslim people. I love every person, and yet that's not going to. And yet these attacks are not going to stop me from what's right, which is to use my voice and my platform for a free Palestine, a free Gaza, and it is my dear hope that more people, especially in the DC Council, speak up and say, "Free Palestine! These bombings have to stop now. Too many babies and women and children and men, civilians have died, and it has to stop now." So I urge everyone, not only my constituents, but every single person, especially if you live in DC, to come join these protests and come join our voices for a free Palestine, a free Gaza. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking. And I, as a Jew myself, I personally absolve everyone here. Nobody here is anti Semitic. And guess why? Because the Palestinians are genetic brothers and sisters, and they're Semitic too. So it's, that is a bogus um, epithet. So thank you so much for speaking. Next, we have where are you? Go ahead. Please introduce yourself. I'm sorry, I can't having
Hey everyone,
difficulties today.
this is Ashmat. How are you? So I just wanted to speak. I've been doing a lot of Palestinian activism for a while. I used to work at City Hall back in the days. I was on this initiative they had this initiative for turning black men into politicians. I was kicked out of it because of my Palestinian activism. I was actually fired from my job because of it. But that has not stopped me. I kind of became like I guess, ostracized from the political establishment here in New York City. And I ended up suing the city and winning. Because they only didn't, not only did they fire me, but they also reported me to the FBI, which made my life hell. So they were stalking my social media, stalking my family, stalking me. It was a whole 9 yards. But because of that, I do have a lot of experience in organizing and working with communities. And one of the things that I've been trying to explain to the protests, I was there on Saturday, and even here in New York City, is that, you have to connect it to your audience. And, I'm in Harlem. And when you talk to people about Palestine, I remember talking to my mom about it, and she's like, "Yeah, I know it's bad, but like I'm struggling. I don't have time to be out protesting. Like, I'm working a second job. I don't have time." And I think you have to really connect it to the issue. And so oftentimes, even when I speak to people in Harlem, and when I'm trying to organize in Richie's uh, district, and even here in Harlem, it's connecting it to the people. So when we say like $14 billion for Israel, what is Harlem not getting? What is South Bronx not getting? You're second in evictions in New York State, right? 14 billion for Israel. You have the second highest eviction rate in New York State. You have the highest poverty level in uh, New York City. You have to connect it to those people, because if not, when you say Palestine, they're just going to look at it from like, oh, it's unfortunate. It's been going on forever. You have to show them how it's directly impacting you. If you go to Richie's borough, if you go to Richie's social media, you're in charge of the Bronx. You went 30 days without talking about the Bronx. You have to connect it to those people so that they see that something is taking place, something of higher importance than them. And I think that's where we get lost, because we just say like, oh, Palestine. And even though I want everyone to be doing it, people are struggling in this country, right? And we all know that when it comes to um, Democrats, neither Democrats or Republicans have a solution to address the poverty, the housing, any of the crises that this country is going through. And so this Israel Palestine, becomes a huge selling point for both parties, right? They don't have to talk about the immigration issues. They don't have to talk about, housing crisis. I just saw something recently that said I can't remember the percentage, but people who were losing their cars, um, they don't have to talk about these issues, because all we can do is rally around Palestine and Israel, and people forget. And so I just think it's really important that we connect Palestine to the communities that we're talking to get more people involved. So even if a person does not care about Palestine, even if they don't care about Israel, they do care about them not being able to eat and $16 billion or $14 billion going. So you don't have to like Palestine. I don't care if you don't like Palestine, but I want you to care about that your tax dollars that you're struggling. You can't house yourself. You can't pay your bills. Is going to support another country and not you. That your politician cares more about another country than you. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate that I'm getting all these requests as well. I can now. Thank you so much.
Twitter
I'm sorry.
has changed quite a bit since Elon took over. I definitely like the whole like talking space, but figuring out all the controls is kind of wacky at first. Does this typically work where just one person speaks and it's not really a shared conversation?
Yep, just one at a time.
To be honest, this is the second time I'm doing this,
Oh,
so
okay.
we're creating it as we
All
live
right.
here.
So yeah, I didn't bother to like buy an account with like a blue check mark or anything. That seems a bit excessive, but hey, if it works, whatever, the glove fits. But yeah, it's strange times we live in. I don't know if I should say that we shouldn't vote Democrat, but geez, Genocide Joe really has a nice ring to it these days, doesn't it? Yeah, it's something else. Like we're supposed to be believing it in this moment, and maybe it's true, but there's a really weird dose of McCarthyism with organizations that are clearly of a specific ideology that I think we've all identified as Zionist these days. There's a website out there called Canary Mission, if you guys haven't heard of it, where they essentially dox you and basically try to essentially smear you as just anti-Semitic and like anti-Israel. And some of those Harvard students also got doxxed on that website as well. I think the ratio is for like every 2 people maybe that are actually like genuinely anti-Semitic. There's probably like 4 to 6 that get smeared. Most of them are like college students. Yeah, I think that's screwed up in and of itself. The trucks, really excessive shit. I don't know about y'all, but I even thought the whole anti-BDS legislation was kind of excessive, and it's kind of like connecting the dots. It just sort of all makes sense when you put it all together. And I don't know about y'all, but it doesn't make sense to me that people are going to defend a country that shuts off water, food, electricity, and then does what could arguably call just reprisal killings with the initial like carpet bombing and killing of 2,000 people. That sounds nuts. I think at the moment that they pushed Hamas back into the strip, and that should have been a ceasefire right there. That should have been a moment to actually have what they're calling a quote unquote humanitarian pause. I don't even know if there's really a difference. That sounds like you're playing patty cake with somebody for some reason. It sounds like you're, I don't know, trying to give somebody almost carte blanche to do shit that they probably shouldn't be doing. But I don't know. It's so weird to think about how we can't even be told the truth about current events, that maybe it's just fog of war, the mysticism of what's going on. But I see like news articles in my feed popping up where it's like 150 hostages have been held captive, or 200 or 250 or 260. And I'm telling myself, like, what is the real number here? Who are we supposed to believe? And oh geez, it frustrated me to no end that I actually decided, fuck it, I'm gonna go pick up a book at my college's library. And believe it or not, I got Alan Dutey's Israel/Palestine, 5th edition. Pretty good so far. I'm only like maybe 26 pages in, but on like the 23rd page, it told me something that really stuck out to me, which was that it said the term anti-Semitism was actually coined by anti-Semites to make hatred of Jews sound clinical. So I don't know what y'all have been thinking lately, but again, really strange times. If like you're going through a bit of a mind fuck thinking about this, you're not alone, because I dare say that if you've been looking up like the actual definition of anti-Semitism, Jews are not in alignment with like the complete definition of anti-Semitism. You've got like the IHRA definition that I think is out there. There's a small bullet point in there where it says something akin to criticizing modern Israeli policy, like and comparing it to Nazism, is anti-Semitic. Like I could see how that is anti-Semitic, but then at the same time, it seems like cultural carte blanche to give them a pass to enact Nazi policy or fascist policy. I don't know what's up with that, but if you want a clearer picture, I actually suggest going to look at the Nexus document that Biden approved in 2020 to deal with anti-Semitism in America. It is vastly different than what Trump's policy was. There is a very specific set of policy that I'm concerned about, which is like, yeah, you should just be able to criticize Israel. It can be anti-Semitic to criticize Israel, I guess, but it could also be anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. But I don't think those are all mutually exclusive with each other. For example, Putin actually put out a notion that if you like criticize Russia, or if the West is like criticizing Russia, it could be Russophobic. Now, when he said that, I thought he was just talking out of his ass. Like he literally pulled that out of the woodworks. But maybe there's something to it. But you got to admit the standard.
I can't raise my hand, but I could answer that question.
What question?
If
Go for it.
The question of so, for instance, I'm Iranian American, right? And I don't support the Iranian ethno-state, the current regime, because they are Islamo-fascist, right? But I grew up as a Muslim American. It has nothing to do with the religion itself. It has to do with creating an ethno-state that anytime that there's a framework of an ethno-state that is created, that framework of an ethno-state is reliant on the potential genocide, but at least the ethnic cleansing, at the least, of whatever other peoples do not fit that apparatus of the ethno-state, right? We see some of that with Christian nationalism and white nationalism within the United States. We saw that with apartheid South Africa, right? So anytime that you have what is essentially an ethno-state, those ethno-states will often say, since the ethno-state itself is tied to that ethnology, that religion, whatever it may be, the argument is arguing against this government, this governmental body, which is always a group of elites when it's a governmental body, almost always. Arguing against this government and this government's policies is then anti-Islamic or Islamophobic or is anti-Semitic. And even the term Semitic, Palestinians themselves are Semitic. I'm
Right.
Semitic. And then there's an idea that if you challenge the government, you're anti whatever it is. You're
American,
anti-American
yeah.
if you challenge the American government. But that doesn't mean, if we challenge the American government, it doesn't mean we're against the American people as human beings. So that's the framework from which Israel's government, for instance, and I like to distinguish between the government and the people, but has protected the colonization, the apartheid state, and has quelled dissent over the treatment and active genocide of the Palestinian people for the last 75 years. That's been the warm cudgel, is to claim. It's kind of like how Westboro Baptist Church said that people were anti-Christian when they criticized the Westboro Baptist Church, right? No, you can criticize the Westboro Baptist Church without being anti-Christian people. It's the same sentiment for criticizing a government. And in this case, it's even more abhorrent and outrageous that this line of being anti an ethno state is somehow anti-Jewish, because it's an affront and offensive to many Jewish people like Chuck, who's on the call with us here, for instance, who do not support the genocide in Israel or do not support the Zionist ethno state of Israel in its current iteration. I hope that helped give some clarity. I don't know.
I suspected as much. Thank you for that, though. It's weird how people are like weaponizing anti-racism or racism, period, and like it's just weird. It's a really weird thing to think about. Like, there could be genuine Russophobia out there. You could probably be genuinely Russophobic, but out of the mouth of Putin, it may as well be like farting into the wind.
Yeah, I understand it. It's a complicated issue, but at the end of the day, like, it's the easiest thing to tell people to dehumanize other people, right? If you want to take something from them, the easiest thing to do is to dehumanize them to justify it, right? So I think at the end of the day that that's what's going on here when we're talking about phobia of this, that, or the other thing, because there are certain structures that are in place, of course, but yeah, I mean, it's when it comes to our government using it as an excuse, it's not. It's always BS. So I want to thank you for speaking, PDX, and I want to hand the mic off to the lefty lawyer. Please introduce yourself and say what you'd like to say.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name's Cassie. I'm a defense attorney. I live in Colorado, and I've been involved in the Palestinian liberation movement for going on a decade at this point. And the thing that gives me hope, I think, about this moment in time, and that is noticeably different from, say, 2014 or 2018 or 2021 and all the times in between, is that it does seem like the old guard on all sides is losing the propaganda war, right? And I think that has a lot to do with the genocide is being live streamed in ways that it hasn't been before. And I was in DC this weekend, and the mass of people who was there was so encouraging, and it was people of all stripes. I was living in Dallas in 2014, and we organized a rally, and maybe 25 people showed up in Dallas, right? And so I think it's really encouraging, and I think particularly, I'm not a millennial, I'm a young Gen Xer, but millennials, and I have a 19-year-old Gen Z daughter who is with me, and I don't think there's anything that has radicalized younger people than seeing this happen live and knowing that our government is actively supporting and condoning it. And I think that the tide is changing. I think it's a very hard sell politically, and I don't know that we're going to get the rapid action and dramatic change in policy that we need out of any of the politicians that we have. So getting in the streets and being active on social media and sharing these things and talking to the people that we're close to, because I think that is also highly effective. You know, the number of people that I've talked to over the last month who really were ambivalent and didn't know much about it, you know, just having conversations with them have gone much differently than it has in the past. I think all that is really beneficial. But in the meantime, thousands of people are dying. And that's the thing that I think is so difficult to accept, is how much daylight there is between popular opinion and what our government is doing. And I also, over the last month, I have been massively disappointed in the huge number of people I know who fight every day. We are in the trenches every day fighting for against the oppression of people in this country. We fight against a system, a legal system that is systemically racist and classist and is heavily weighed against the people who are trapped in it. That is what we do as defense attorneys who have chosen to do this work for our life. And the people who will fight every day and go up against, you know, the machine and the powers that be for people in this country just cannot move that activism and that care for people who aren't here. And I really appreciated what, I think it was Ahmet who was saying, that, you know, relating it back to local issues it's important, right? This does affect people here. But the disconnect that I have just been profoundly disappointed in, seeing people who are who were in the streets, you know, we were in the streets together for BLM protests, and, you know, protests against, in favor of abortion rights, and all these things that are social justice issues and that we take so seriously when they're happening in our backyard. Somehow there's this vast swath of people who are blinded to it when it comes to people on the other side of the world. By the same token, I've seen people who, as I, you know, sort of said before, didn't really know anything about it or use the cop-out that, oh, it's complicated. This isn't a complicated issue. It's actually very simple. And I've been pleasantly surprised by some people, even people I know who are staunchly conservative, who have been staunch supporters of the Israeli government, just cannot stomach what's happening right now. And so I guess my entire point with speaking is that I see a massive change in public opinion, and I see that change coming from sectors and from people who it has surprised me. But then also just profound disappointment from other people who seem to be on the right side of so many issues here, but just don't seem to give a shit about what's happening on the other side of the world, and how our tax dollars and our government are not just, you know, not taking a stand against this, are actively funding it, are actively condoning it, and saying, oh, there are no red lines. So I guess I'm filled, you know, on the one hand with hope, but on the other hand, it's just, it feels like nothing we do is enough, because nothing we do is going to cause the immediate change that we need right now. And as someone else is saying, we don't have a fucking year. We don't have a year to wait to vote until next time? And are there any politicians who are on the right side of this issue anyway? So if our activism isn't intersectional enough to care about people on the other side of the world, then what good is our activism? As feminists, if our feminism isn't intersectional enough to care about women on the other side of the world who are, you know, giving birth, having C-sections without medication, who don't have rights to their own bodies, then what good is our feminism? And I think as a white woman, I'm just so disappointed in white people. That's
Seconded.
all I really have to say.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Can I got Leela up next. I'm going to hand it off to you. Maybe introduce yourself and say what you'd like to say.
Thank you. My name is Leilani. Um, I am not surprised by where we are today. Um, I'm just curious if you all are going to vote for many of these Democrats next year. I'm really like, you know, 9,000 people murdered, a majority of them children, a majority of them were told that electricity and water and gas were going to be cut off. And so I'm trying to understand what's your breaking point here? Like being feared into voting for a Democratic slate, or like I'm in for all of us who are in blue states, at least, who have representatives who are really protected, who could have come out and could have said, like, just even a ceasefire. And like my representative, Nancy Pelosi, basically stated a ceasefire as a gift to Hamas. She never said anything about the Palestinian people or just innocent civilians. Like, do you understand? Like, now it is okay that citizens are collateral damage. And it's not that it's just now. Like, we've seen it for the last 20 years. We saw it in Iraq, we saw it in Afghanistan, we've seen it throughout Africa. I'm just curious, like, when do you give up on the capitalistic party of the Democrats? Because they see you marching, and I said this last weekend. Many of in San Francisco, they leave our city halls when they know a march is coming, and they go to parties and they go hang out with their friends, and they'll be like, we'll just wait it out. It's going to take a couple weeks. They're going to get tired, and then, you know, then we'll come around and we'll say, we're going to negotiate. By then, like what, like maybe 15,000 people, 20,000 people will be dead by then. Like, to me, the conscious part of us is like, how do you condone civilians being murdered, bombed, trapped? And then, you know, to me, also, I'm sorry, this is the same party in strong democratic states and cities that have high levels of homelessness, high levels of rent burden. So when do you start to love yourself more and tell them no? And just right to me at this point, you know, I hear sometimes people say, well, you know, it's picking between two devils. I said, well, you know, I'm sure there's somebody we all can coalesce in our cities and not rip them apart and get them across the line. Like, we have to jump across that fear now. Because to me, I think personally, the Democrats are a little tired. They're trying to get Newsom across the line for next year. And that will even be worse, to be honest, because if you want to understand the level of poverty that is in San Francisco, it started under his administration 20 years ago as a supervisor in San Francisco. And if you all keep ignoring it, it's just going to spread even more, even worse. And so when he gets up there and he says he's fighting to erase homelessness and to fund mental health, he and his friends and family, because they're a political structure in San Francisco and in Sacramento, have had the opportunity But I realized in the end, some people just like to have a running waiting list, a task to make them feel like, oh, I've done something. It's like one of the Democrats' major talking points is that they believe in moderation. No matter how long it takes, they'll just keep chipping away at it. That is the most insane type of ideology, to let people suffer until like we all come together. Like if you can't get it together in a blue state, I don't know what you think you're going to do in a red state, to be honest.
Can
And
I
so,
can I give
mhm.
you a point of hope? Just a point of hope. Um, seven. Okay, so the people that support the Democratic Party right now across the country is only 20%. People that support the Republican Party is only 18%. Right now, 70% of the country is registered as independent, or identifies as independent, the largest number in American history. We also have Gen Z, which is a new voting bloc, which is the largest voting bloc in American history, and they don't like either party. Sometimes it's hard to see if you're like in a really heavy Democratic Party area or if you're in a really heavy red area, which those are even more rare. There are
So
no red states.
do you think San Francisco is a liberal progressive city, a moderate city,
No,
or progressive?
I think that it is neither. I think that I've seen with my candidates, I've helped 100 non-traditional federal candidates. That was my job before, was doing like voter analysis and helping candidates like that. And I ran a lot of candidates against the Democratic Party, and I saw how people were treated by the Democratic Party who ran against the establishment status quo. You know, the Democratic Party threw everything possible against them, and some of our hardest places to run were deep blue areas like California. And in the quote unquote red states, the thing about those is 75% of the seats go unchallenged, uncontested. And that's because the Democratic Party has abandoned states like Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, all of that. There
It's
are no
not, I don't
true red
believe that
states,
they've
there are no
abandoned.
blue states.
I don't believe it's abandoned. I believe it's a party sharing between both. They get
Yeah.
tired.
Oh,
They,
yeah.
it's a party sharing. And so, like, that's what I'm trying to understand when I'm hearing these spaces. Like, are you advocating to tell people around you it's okay to vote no against this Democrat in your local city and state
Never.
level? No.
Never. I have been anti-duopoly for the last 10 years, and I've actually led some of the national messaging on anti-duopoly messaging for the last 10 years. So for me personally, hell no. I don't support either party, but I know what you're getting at, that there are a lot of people that will use the lesser of two evilisms in order to keep the status quo with whichever party so that they can maintain their hegemony, right? But the good, what I want to tell you, that I just want to give you a little bit of hope, is that the country itself, the voters, especially people from marginalized communities and people who are like poor, are have already lost their faith in both parties. They've already lost faith in the system. They're either not voting, they would vote independent if they had somebody, or they're fleeing the rolls. I think that the rolls have gone down 40% for both parties in the last 15 years, but the bulk of that has been in the last 6 years. So people are leaving and they're seeing, but there are some strongholds in the country, and it sounds like you still kind of live in one of those. So I bet that's really stressful, but maybe for a little
Not
bit of hope that there
stressful.
is change.
What I'm saying is that it just, in the hearing in the space, it sounds like I'm just curious if people are going to vote. How are they going to vote in 2024, or if they're not going to vote? Or to me, like, to have the debate, like, oh, whether you're anti-Semitic or not, to me, that's not even a conversation that we should have, for the simple fact that we are human beings and we don't want anybody to be hurt. So when people bring up that type of discussion, I just totally, I already know where they're going with this. This is a distraction. And I wish more people would just say, We're humans. We don't want anybody to be hurt. We want everybody to be safe. What we're asking for is for civilians to not be drawn into government leadership wars where they would never put themselves on the line. Never in a million years. And so that was mainly why I came to the stage.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for doing so. You are 100% right about that. Absolutely. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think up next, I'm going to hand it to Miss Paula.
Hi.
Hi. Go ahead and introduce yourself and just say what you'd like to say.
I am someone who's been a Democrat my entire life. I became very, very progressive in 2000 when the Supreme Court completely stole the election, which changed the entire fate of this country. And I've just seen us rotting and rotting and rotting ever since. And there's been so much corruption for the last 20 years, but the last 4 weeks have taught me more about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict than I've ever known in my entire life. I never learned any of this in school. And I never learned any of this from the media. And I've only learned this through social media and people's real, I'm sorry, this is like real experiences. And like, I can't believe the horror that I'm seeing. And I can't believe that we've been funding this all this time. And I'm horrified by it.
Yeah.
And so what party am I?
I
Like
a lot of
propping up? Like, and at the same time, what's the other option? Because I don't know that I don't have another option.
yeah.
But like, what else? I don't.
A lot of people I think this is a wake up call to a lot of us, and we get them every year or so, and then the more people come to realize that both parties are working for the same corporations, and that it's we have to fight against them and who's using them to control our lives, right? So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I just wanted to chime in.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, but we're, in this space and responding a little bit to what Leilani was saying as well. We're here to highlight, actions that we can do. We're here to highlight candidates that we can wholeheartedly support. We have a few in the chat right now, Christina being one of them. We are, and yeah, we are here to try to do as much as we can directly, right? Because we cannot trust anyone to sort of save us, to sort of, steer the boat in the right direction or whatever, because that boat is on a course that is set by the people who are making money off this war to, to do that. So yes, please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I've been voting in primaries so hard since 2000. And like none of the candidates that I ever vote for or caucus for, because I lived in Nevada for a bit, like they never make it. They never make it. Because everyone's so terrified. And 2020 was the worst for me. Sorry, 2016 was the worst for me. I I I don't understand the fear. Why are progressive values so scary?
I think
Yeah.
I
Could,
think
could I
oh,
just
sorry, go ahead.
chime in
Sure.
real quickly?
Anthony,
Yeah.
I just
Anthony,
I
did you want to
hear,
respond to that?
yeah, I hear your struggle, and um
Am I
I don't,
losing again?
Miss Paul, it's me. Can you hear me? But I hear your struggle, and I'm thinking, I went through this on and off some years ago, and there are some of us here who are very hard, like, we've been through it with the Democrats. We're not going to vote for them again. And there are people now who are struggling with it because they've been trying to remain hopeful, like the last speaker said. But they keep seeing that anytime we back a progressive in the Democratic primaries, they never make it. The press ignores them. We get cheated. I mean,
I know.
we've been through it, and I think what this is only my personal journey, and why I do this is because I think um, Republicans are horrendous. Like, not people, but the party, the elected people who run that party are horrible.
They're
They're anti-queer.
demons.
They're all those things. But when I remember reading a statistic that Barack Obama, when he took office, there was a lot of hope in 2009. When he was inaugurated, we had this economic crash. He talked a good game, but he came in and he stacked his entire administration with people picked by Citibank. Homeowners
Yep.
continued to get screwed. No
Yep.
bankers ended up going to jail. But what happened in that 8 years? Democrats lost over 1,000 seats nationwide, and most of the
I
seats they
know.
lost were at the state level. So all these Neanderthals in the Republican Party passing anti-drag laws and anti-trans laws and abortion restrictions, a lot of them got put in office because Democrats failed again to center the
I know.
needs of the working class. So, like, for me, it's a merry-go-round, and I'm getting off of it. I'm not voting for that lesser of evil. And it's just, I respect whatever anybody does because everybody wants things to be better. But I can't vote for the lesser of two evils again and think it's ever going to get better. And so it's going to be bad no matter what. It's bad now. The only way we break this two-party stranglehold is by not participating in what they're doing. So for me, and I'm not telling you what to do, like, a vote for Biden to me is, I'm complicit in that genocide. I can't allow that. Of course, I would never vote for Trump or whoever the Republicans put up. But I think this is a moment when more and more people are saying the things that you're saying, and maybe we make a dent now. Abolition took years. The women getting the right to vote took years. These things, I know they don't happen overnight. And then eventually something changes, and we look back and say, all civil rights movement, all these things happened to lead up to it. The history books will give it one page and act like it was one incident. It wasn't. It's all these little refusals to participate in what, people see as an evil system.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all in any way, shape, or form. Like I literally don't know what to do next year. I don't. I was steadfast that in 2020, like, I knew what I was going to do, just in the sense of we could not let that man, like, get another term. But I'm I'm on a teeter-totter right now. Like I don't know how to feel about this at this moment.
Yeah, I think just take your time.
I think a lot of people are with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
And oh, hey Chuck, did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
I do. I do. I think I just because I mean I hear your struggle. Like it's the pain in every word. The struggle is coming out, and I could say that I've gone through that. I'm a reformed liberal, is how I put it. I didn't just vote for Obama. I campaigned for Obama. I didn't campaign for him. I was canvassing, and when he said he's going to close Gitmo on day one, I believed him, and I thought he was anti-war. I swallowed it all up, and I believed it. And so it was a shock when I find out there's more deportations, all these other things. It's not anti-war and all of that, and that's all part of certainly my evolution. But I think what I want to add to Anthony's commentary is that when we talk about this switch, we talk about it almost always in moral terms, right? Like, there's no way I'm gonna vote for genocide. I'm just not. I mean, and even the idea that somebody is we're gonna stop fascism by the voting for the guy funding genocide, that just doesn't make any sense. That just makes no sense. But beyond that, I've come to a point where I could defend it pragmatically, not just morally, but
I
pragmatically.
know, I know.
You
I
know?
know. I'm
Yeah,
hearing this.
yeah. And for me, it's like I think Glenn Ford, DeLay Glenn Ford would say the Democrats are the more effective evil. He would always say that it's not the lesser, the more effective evil. And as someone who covers protests, I've covered protests for like over 10 years. And in some ways, you see metrics, and what I mean metrics is you see crowd sizes, right? Like it's a form of a metric. And when Trump was president, I saw the most incredible crowd sizes. 9 days into his presidency, there were thousands in the streets. White liberals who would say no Muslim ban, no wall. I thought it was New Day was upon us. All these white people in the streets, and so many protests fighting police. I thought like white people were awakened, and all of these things were happening. And then the second, I mean, literally the second Biden became president, so many outside the hardcore parts, they went away. And when we had, say, an anti-immigration, it was about 3 weeks in D.C. into Biden's presidency, and people didn't know. I didn't even know that Haitians were being deported by the thousands under the Title 42 that Biden kept in place under Trump. And someone called me up and said, "Could you cover this protest?" I said, "What do you mean cover this protest deportation? Didn't Biden do a 100-day moratorium?"
Yeah,
I
I didn't know that either.
yeah, I didn't know it. What's this Title 42? I never heard of Title 42. And they're breaking it down for me, right? And come cover this protest. There are 50 people there. And then the same action under the same policy that Trump and Stephen Miller put together when Biden did it. Now, instead of F Trump in my timeline, it was give him time. Wait, I'm like, do all the Haitians and Mexicans have that kind of time who are being deported by the thousands each week? Because break this down for me, right? And this is one of maybe several examples by crowd size for the very same um, um, a principle, for the very same fight or cause. There's something about liberals when Biden does the same exact thing as Trump, they stay home and they encourage other people to stay home and don't be divisive
And
and
they
all
think
this
it's
stuff.
fine.
I'm sorry?
They think it's fine.
They think it's fine. So my point is that which is the Glenn Ford point, is that I actually believe it's not Trump versus Biden. It's Trump plus a resistance against him versus Biden and no resistance. And when I asked Biden and no resistance, I'm actually have come to the opinion, because of that lack of resistance, because he could pass fascist legislation so seamlessly, that Democrats are worse because of the lack of resistance. Because at least when Trump was out there were people in the street. Say what you want about George Floyd when we're in the street. College campuses all over the country were shutting down, throwing their police off their campuses when Trump was in there. Colorado ended qualified qualified immunity. They didn't do that because went through legislature. They did it because people were in the street. So let the people be in the street. And I find the people go in the street when there's a Republican president. This is a wonderful exception because of genocide. Everyone can understand that. But I am saying, my view, I have come full circle to be pragmatically, on purely pragmatic grounds. I actually do believe a Democrat's worse because of the lack of resistance.
I have a very knife edge view of that. I completely understand exactly what you're thinking. And I wildly am like in that headspace right now.
Yeah, I think
But my other headspace is in the primary, I'm going to vote my heart. I'm going to fight as hard as I can against Joe Biden's bullshit policies. I'm going to do 5 calls like probably every day until election day. But also, it comes down, I want a primary. I want a primary where somebody else comes up on top. But in the end, if he ends up to be the one against Jesus Christ, they really can't like elect anybody else. God, they're so stupid.
Yeah, no, a lot of us are feeling that way right now. So I sorry to cut you off, but we do have a few people in line.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Problem, but thank you so much for contributing. I really appreciate it. Lefty Lawyer and Leilani, do you guys have something really quick that you wanted to add from what was said? Lefty Lawyer first.
Yeah, I'll try to keep this quick. So I'm not voting for candidates who support genocide, full stop. The end result for the Palestinian people is the exact same, whether it's Joe Biden offering a pittance in humanitarian aid out of one hand, or Donald Trump just saying, turn Palestine into glass. The result is the same. So I'm done doing that. I'm done voting for the lesser of two evils. The Democrats have gaslit people into voting for them using Roe as a boogeyman, using all of these things as boogeymen, and then they don't do a damn thing to try and change it. Where I think we on the left, and those of us who, however far left you are, if you are left of Joe Biden, who is center right in any other part of the world, we can take lessons from the Tea Party and from MAGA, because that shit didn't happen overnight. They worked on school boards. They work in city councils. And that is a long game. And I think we have not been willing to play that long game. In my city, we have socialists on our city council, and things are changing. Against the wishes of the mayor, things are changing. And so we have to be in it for the long game, which doesn't solve this problem right now, which is the frustration I was expressing earlier. There is not a candidate who is going to take the bold step to stand against the Israeli government and condemn genocide who we can elect as president next November. So I'm sitting that one out. I'm not voting for anyone who supports genocide. I'm not voting for Joe Biden, and I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm not telling anybody else that that's what they have to do, but that's where I've landed. And I am putting my political efforts into local races and things that I can do to make this, my city and my state, better. And I am voting for politicians who have condemned genocide and who are calling for a ceasefire and who are on the right side of this issue. As far as I'm concerned, nationally, the elections next year are a lost cause. We have to be willing to play the long game and to put our efforts into people and who are running for office who are on the right side of things.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. I completely agree, and I think a lot of us are in the same spot there. Leilani, did you want to say something really quick about what was said just now? And then we're going to have Zeno speak
I,
next. And
I have
then,
more of a question because I know that like Anthony and Chuck have been out there like looking at other candidates, supporting other candidates. Um, if you had any opinions, like I know, um, I know that Cornel West is very controversial. I know that there's other candidates out there. Is there anybody that you see um, that we haven't talked about that you see can potentially um, make an independent run in 2024? And the other question is somebody talked about the long game. And obviously, this system doesn't work, even at a local level, state level, and federal level. This is not working out. And I'll give a prime example of why it's not working out. Even in San Francisco, they've removed public comment. Even in San Francisco, they are going to a place, and these are Democrats. Let me remind people, these are Democrats that they want to criminalize people who are struggling with drug addiction, people who are homeless, even though there are mechanisms and ways to address it. They have decided to spend more money in our take more money out of our general fund to give it to our police department. Luckily, two supervisors were able to like block it last week. But the interesting part is that in 2024, we already know we had a major recall. We had a major recall 2 years ago, which removed progressives from the school board, which is going to impact our supervisor race, and overall our mayoral race is like a mess. um, because our mayor is very spiteful at the point right now. So to me, the question is about, we have city councils, we have mayor system. This is not working. Have you thought about what else could work? Like what else? Like has it been pondering your mind? Like the long game is working towards a different system. And to me, you know, I don't think about the red states when I'm talking about this because to be honest, I always felt like decent people should be together. And then people who follow really conservative Republican values, I want them as far away from me as possible.
It, I can I please? I'm
Mhm,
sorry, but I'm always hearing this from left spaces.
mhm,
I'm a Kentuckian. I'm an
mhm,
Appalachian.
mhm,
Our median income is $23,000 a
mhm,
year. The people around here ain't a bunch of bigots. There are a lot of lies that the media says about who we are, what our history is, and what it means to be a quote unquote red state. We had the bitch caucus, which was primarily a black female led caucus, the largest caucus of female Democrats and independents in the country until 2005 or 2006 when the Democratic Party voted them out. So please be in solidarity with poor
I am
people,
in
even in what you
solidarity
think
with
are
poor
red states.
people. And at the same time, I cannot carry red states. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like every time we try to help push you all up, there is, and you said it in 2005, it is 2023, and we've lost a whole lot of rights and more to come. And what I'm saying is that I want other states to be sanctuaries for you. Trying to change Kentucky and Florida, I just don't see it right now. We can keep trying, but
Well, if anybody
let
wants
me
to
finish.
send
I
me
think
about $8,500 so that I can move out of my state, so that I can go and live somewhere else, I'll take that right now.
I would love it. I would love for you to come to California. I would love it. I would love you all, to be honest, because at least we have
yeah, put
community
me.
there.
I'm down. I'm down to come visit
At least we
California.
can. At least we can out. We can. of course we want to be in our native places, and we want to live, and we want to be able to grow and be who we are, but we have seen where we are. And people keep saying have hope, when in 2016 and before that, even during Obama, some of us already really knew what that meant. People thought that voting for him meant that we had overcome, not understanding climate change, that we were still dealing with racism, bigotry in many different areas, that it was just it was a clawback. And I didn't mean to talk this long, but I've been listening to a few great spaces with pen and paper and choose violence, and I put it in the thread, which talks about a historical pattern. And at some point, like, we have to sometimes understand, I cannot change. I can't change a bigot. They have to want to change on their own. But I can find like-minded community next to me. And how can I build out the community where we're all together?
Yeah, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Thank you. That's the big question. I mean, nobody has the answer on that, right? We're all chipping away at an answer, a solution. But thank you so much for sharing. I do want to give Zeno a chance to speak. You've been waiting for a while, so I'm going to pass it off to you. Please introduce yourself and say what you'd like to say. If you're still with us, Zeno.
Zeno, can you hear us?
I can hear you
We'd
now.
love to hear you. Oh, great.
Hi.
We'd love to have
Welcome.
you speak now if you'd like.
Thank you. Um, uh, I just entered because Christina was here. I think she would be somebody that would help with these kind of things that's going on in Palestine. But furthermore, I think what the real proposal here is, it would be take legal action massively to institutions. We can do that. Actually, I watched the coverage of Washington D.C. and people that went there, all the NGOs, and there were people that were law firms doing great action to take everyone responsible what's going on, not only in the U.S. but everyone that it's supplying Israel for doing what it's doing. I think that's the right thing to do, and we don't really need the proposal or the middleman in Congress or anything else. I think the civics here is to take action massively. We all know at least some lawyers that they can go pro bono. We even can pay for them. It doesn't matter. What matters is that these people that are committing genocide go to jail, and we have to make it very clear. This is a strategic move. Why? Because if the international law is basically not going to help more, we're going to see more genocide for multiple sides, and that's the problem. The problem here is that international law is not being respected, but we the people and the US citizens can do that without the the acceptance of Congress or mayors. We can do it by ourselves directly to the DOJ, and they have to make it through, because that's how the system is designed. So that's one of the things. Another thing is I want to propose is that I have access to more lawyers outside the US, and they can do an international law, a collective lawsuit against the people that are perpetrating this. And that would be a great case that not only in the US, but everyone else, all lawyers around the world, would see this as a genocide. Even the guy from the Human Rights uh, UN High Commissioner, he was saying that the most problematic thing to make a charge of genocide is to prove intent. but what happened of the actual discussions and the publications of Netanyahu and our ministers trying to make genocide on Palestinians, it will be a very easy to prove the intent. They already have the intent. The only thing they need is the mechanisms and people to actually make the suits, the lawsuit. Nobody has done anything, so that's the problem. So if we can actually massively, it has to be massively, it cannot be 1 or 3 or 50 people. It has to be millions, thousands of people in the U.S. going and not writing to their congressman or whatever, because that's not going to happen. They bought. We all see it. They bought them. They bought them all. They bought them all. I don't know if they bought them all, but if they bought a lot. So, but what really we can do is use the judicial system in our favor to seize the fire. The other thing that we can do actually is, yeah, Congress, they do have power on the administration part, but in the logistics part is the people who make the move. So people can actually um, go on strike because of what they're asking is against the U.S. Constitution. It is against the international law as well. So they can actually say that, and they cannot go around that. They cannot go around that. I mean, workers can do that. Like we're seeing it right now in Spain and other unions around the world. They're doing that. They're not moving the weapons and the arms going to Israel, and they went on strike on the premise that they are against their own constitution. So I think we have that. We're not. I mean, it's not. It's better than nothing, I would think. And the other thing is we have to organize massively. We have to make these kind of spaces more and invite everyone that we know, everyone, no matter who they are, everyone they know. For what reason? The reason to organize ourselves in the 50 states and make the moves, take action. No, not to write to congressman. That is not gonna happen. What we're gonna have to do is just follow the law. We actually have a constitution. We have to follow the law, and just doing nothing. What's gonna happen is gonna make us more safe, because that's what actually Likud and those other three parties, the right parties in Israel want. What Likud wants is to create a lot of terrorist cells in order to sell and to buy weapons. That's what they really want. And that's what they're trying to do. And that's where they're trying to go and make us feel like we are hopeless. But if we, in our words, if we go massively and we suit Likud, the party, and the other three coalition parties of Israel in the judicial system, we don't need a congressman. We don't need them. We really don't need the representation in that matter. We only need to take action, and we have to make ready all the lawyers that we know, and we can make, I don't know, hundreds or maybe thousands. They know they're gonna earn. It's a great business for them, because that's going to be basically paid by Israel, and that's what it is. That's how the law works. And actually, Christina was here. I wanted her to talk a little bit more about it. I know a lot of international law and stuff like that, mostly commercial, not penal, but I know people that do have penal lawyers, and they can actually go and speak more about this and clarify questions about how is that going to work, what are our options. But I think the most important thing right now is organize ourselves and make a list of everyone that we know that we can massively suit Israel and suit all the people that are involved in supplying Israel for weapons. Thank you.
Thank you. That was an excellent speech, and that sparked many ideas in my head about actions to take. So thank you so much for sharing that. Um, I would like to see Baudib go next. You've been waiting for a while. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, my name is Chris. Shout out to Chuck. We were former colleagues. He does great work covering all the protests in DC on Twitter. Um, what's up, Chuck? I wanted to just touch on the recent conversation here. The greatest evil that Ronald Reagan did, especially Reagan, I think, was and the Republicans of that era was to convince the poor working class white people of this country that the poor working class black people were their enemy, and to convince them to side with the rich CEOs, because that by doing that, that somehow that their money would trickle down to them, and which is obviously a lie. We have to have working class solidarity, or we'll never improve conditions in this country. But things are actually improving because labor has actually made great strides within the last year. The other thing I wanted to say, I think the best thing that we can do, especially on spaces like this, and but also like educate your friends and your family. I saw, I'm not going to say his name right, Tahisi Coates on TV the other day, and he explained that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is everyone say it's so complex and there's so much history, but it's actually the most simple conflict to understand. It's just textbook settler colonial genocide. I would recommend sharing the Abby Martin. Thanks, Chuck. Yeah, the Abby Martin documentary, Gaza Fights for Freedom, which shows that they were they were committing genocide in Gaza slowly before they started dropping bombs in October. It was the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, and no one knows about it. No one, when the Gazans tried to peacefully protest during the March of Return, the world ignored them, and the occupation forces just gunned them down. And no one knows about that. But I think that if people are educated, they would obviously see how horrific this is. And that's all I got. Thanks for hosting this space.
Thank you. Um,
Oops. Great. Thank you so much for contributing that. I really appreciate that. And I think Pepper wants to go next, so I'm going to hand it off to her.
Thank you. Um, so can everybody hear me? Put a thumbs up if you could hear me.
If
We
I
can
Okay.
hear
can.
you.
Okay, great. Um, so I want to thank everybody for being on the space, and I want to thank all the speakers. Um, I am very grateful that we have so many of us who are willing to speak up and stand up and march and protest and come up with, as many possible actions as possible to stand up to this situation. There are some things that we can do. If you're feeling helpless,
Is there anyone speaking right now? What?
I'm speaking.
Pepper is speaking.
Okay, so yeah, she can't hear me. That's why she's confused. We've been having a glitch, but we're working on it. I messaged her that I'm speaking. So, one thing that you could do if you're feeling, helpless, you could go to ceasefiretoday.com, and it has a list of actions you could do from US to UK to Canada, and it has actions around the world. You could also go to gazastrong.com, and it also has a list of actions you could take and marches you could attend, and what you could do to donate. And there's another action, shut it down for Palestine.org. So shut it down, the number for Palestine.org. And they're calling for a shutdown, an international shutdown on like a boycott on Thursday, I believe. But if you go to the site, you can find out more. Um, and um, and if there's any other actions that any of you guys know about, if you could share, um, Zaina, Professor Zankus, Chuck, do you know of any other possible websites or actions people could go to?
I've heard of a few. There are the boat boycotts, but I don't know if anyone knows the link to where those are being organized. I've been asking around and I haven't seen those shared. Um, but another thing you can do, and this is a more subtle thing, and I'm not saying that this is like a massively powerful thing or anything, it's just something that someone can do. Tweet out, tag your representatives on my Twitter page. I have every single person's handle listed, and I've worked with representatives. I know what matters to them. Right now, they want to get reelected. They want volunteers, and a lot of them still do rely on small dollar donations, believe it or not. Even when they get that corporate money, they still rely on small dollar donations. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. So, one thing that we can do is we can encourage their staff to quit. So, tweet that out, pressure them. Anyone that you know that's working, pressure them. Um, Pressure people to boycott. There's a list of boycott from McDonald's to Disney to Starbucks. And if anyone else knows any others to boycott, those are three that come to the front of my mind. Those actually boycotts do have weight. And then boycott the representatives. Don't give them a dime. Don't give them your time. Don't volunteer. Encourage volunteers to leave. Razz people that are actually sharing out, vote for so and so or so and so, because right now, yes, election season is stressful and yes, it matters, but the presidencies don't have as much impact as local elections ever, really, or as the state houses ever. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And a lot of times, our systems have us set up where we have tunnel vision on voting, is how we do activism, right? It's like, what am I going to do if I can't vote? Voting is how I do activism. But we can pressure these people, we can that are actually can make the laws, because we can't. We can also do the things like Badib was talking about, which are challenges in court. We can try to push for ballot initiatives. But the major thing right now that we can do is to call for boycotts of representatives, to show up at their offices, do sit ins, call, find any action like that that you can. And rallies and marches, just coming up in the street, does help to win the info war, because it's not just an actual real physical war, it's also an info war, an information war that Israel's government has been winning for the last 100 years. So that's it.
Awesome, Zeta. Thank you. Chuck, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, I would add just first of all, I echo what was just said about the information war. It's nonstop, but I guess wherever you are locally, I follow certain Palestinian groups just I've seen in the street. So I technically live outside of DC. I'm right outside in Silver Spring, Maryland, Palestine, and I learned a lot from them. Um, for instance, just to give you one example, months ago, the IHRA definition came up, right? Earlier. And a lot of these IHRA laws have been passed locally with no knowledge whatsoever of people. And these are huge. So Montgomery County were having votes, and Maryland, Palestine, they were fighting this, right? And then I said, "Oh, tell me more about the IHRA." And they broke it down for me and they explained how, if you change the definition of anti-Semitism, which Trump sort of did in 2019, and then Biden left mostly in place. Um, to conflate critique of Israel as anti-Semitism, and if you get folks on record to do that, now you've legally kind of changed what anti-Semitism is, right? And when the ADL pushes anti-Semitism, they have much of that is conflating um, anti-Zionism with it, which I wish they didn't do that. But I say that to say is that some of these organizations, Palestinian Youth Movement or more national, are really on the heartbeat of some of the local politics that are happening. I come at it just from media perspective, mostly because I suck at organizing. I'm going to be very honest with you. I really suck at it. Tried it many years ago. It's just not for me. So I have the greatest and most utmost respect for all organizers because it's just so thankless. And But it's so necessary. But I would just say follow local Palestinian groups as well. Start with them and then work your way out to other groups.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can I just say one very small thing? I posted in the thread here. It's an open letter from the Palestinian Christians to Western Christians, and I'm agnostic, but I was raised Catholic. If you have friends who are American Christians, you should have them read this because one, if you believe in Christianity, then these people are most certainly the direct descendants of Jesus's followers. And it calls out Western countries for Western Christians to remind them that Jesus loved the oppressed and that Christians should oppose wars of the rich and powerful. And I think it's just a beautiful message and can really affect people.
Can we find this tweet on your page?
Thank you for sharing that. I absolutely.
I linked it in the thread here. If you want me to put it up in the nest, I will.
Okay, great.
I can.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 2 or 3 pages long, but it's worth reading.
Cool. Yeah, great. Please put it on the thread. I see that there are a couple more requests to speak. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wrap up this evening, but I'm hoping to be doing this again very soon. So if you are interested in speaking next time, please send me a DM, and we can make sure that happens. I also want to. I just also want to highlight really quickly, if you go check out my feed, I have some videos of the Block the Boat protest. There was a boat going from uh, Tacoma, Seattle, Washington, that area, full of weapons to Israel. And there were a bunch of protesters that delayed it successfully for 9 hours. And so that was an amazing action. There's video of that there. They even convinced one of the people who worked on the boat to step off and quit. So that's also beautiful. So I would like everyone to take a look at that. And I also just want to thank everyone so much for speaking and for coming. And I would absolutely love to have all of you back next time. There was a lot of amazing things that were said, and I'm going to hand it off to Pepper now, who I think wants to thank everyone as well. And DM me when you're done talking, Pepper, so that I can close the space because my techno is faulty.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, I just want to reiterate everything that Bess just said, and I want to thank everybody for being here. I thank everybody who contributed to the space. I think everybody said something that was really valid. I think, when it comes to voting, we all have to just vote for who we think is the best person. And, I think we all want the same thing at the end of the day. We just have to go about it how we feel that we need to go about it. So I trust you all, and thank you for your activism, and love you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm just communicating with her through messaging right now that I'm done because she can't hear me. Oh, she probably didn't get my message yet. So she'll get it, and then she'll close up. I think it's really great that we had Khalil at the very beginning.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I want to wish everyone a wonderful evening, and please come back again next time. We will figure out a good time for everyone, and hopefully, we'll see you all then. Until then, have a great week and free Palestine. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Good night.
Bye.